Welcome. Have you ever found yourself to say one thing and then a little later you say a little bit more, like starting way back? Well, that's how I feel sometimes. You know, I write something down and then I read it out, I tell someone, or I'm having a conversation with myself, and then I write something more, which is actually the start of something, even though I had a start when I started. Now that can get confusing. Take prequels to films or TV series or books, for example. It's like, okay, we got something first, to tell us a little bit about the person, the thing, the setting, and then it goes on and then it stops. But these prequels, why? It's like, take, X-Men. We got the first X-Men back in 2000. It was pretty good. It's considered a classic now. And then we got the follow-up, which is seen as one of the best follow-ups in comic book and cinematic history. Then we got the third one, which barely anyone liked. There's too many characters, very unused. I mean, the effects are still good and the score, but there was just too much happening. Like with any third entry, the Dark Knight Rises was really big. Iron Man 3, really big. Not many people like that. Spider-Man 3, oh god, don't get me started on that. Things like Venom were thrown at the last minute, underused, too many characters. And, well, speaking of Spider-Man, it's getting rebooted again. Why? Just let Spider-Man rest. Focus on someone else. And then, well, back to X-Men. Have you ever found yourself, you've written down something, you spoke to someone about the same thing or something else, and then afterwards you go back and explain more? What's up with that? Like, you had an idea, then you just went with it, then you came back and it's like, I'm going to dive deep and explain more, even though that you started with something. It's like restarting again. Do a whole lot more exploration. Take prequels, for example. Why? We already know about this person and that setting. Why do you have to explain way back? It's like, it can get annoying. Like, take X-Men, for example. The first one came out, it's now considered a classic. The second came out, seen as one of the best follow-ups in comic book film and in general. Then the third, so many people didn't like it. Too many characters, still good effects and all that, but there's just too many people in there with not enough focus, It's like with every third entry. Spider-Man 3, Venom was just thrown in there. He wasn't even to his potential. Iron Man 3, many people didn't like that. And they're rebooting Spider-Man again, so they're taking him back because The Amazing Spider-Man 2, they screwed it up. Too many characters. They didn't finish the trilogy. Now they're taking it back from the start again. Why? Just leave Spider-Man rest. Now, back to X-Men. X-Men First Class came out. People thought that was a reboot. No, it's a prequel. It's explaining more again about the characters, how and why they became to where they are, and then a follow-up to that came, which mixed in with the original, and now you got the third one coming out. And then there's all the comic spin-offs with more prequels, and then there's the Wolverine acting as another prequel. It's just like, why? And then you have Fast and the Furious, which is the most confusing storyline ever, because the third actually takes place after the sixth, and the sixth is like before the first and stuff like that. It's like, come on. Like when I write something, let's say a review or a script, if I ever work on a script, I'll go back and redraft a few things, but I wouldn't like write something else to tie in with that. I continue on. But some people do, they like write something more. Some prequels work, they're good, and then you got interquels, which have an in between this but before that. So it's a sequel and a prequel at the same time. It just gets very confusing. Either write one thing, follow it on, and then write something else, and then you can connect it. But people want to go back and back further, and you're looking this way, you're looking that way, and you gotta look up. And that's just pretty much how storytelling goes. So what you're gonna see from here is a developing story. There's so much gonna happen. So I'm just addressing a few things like, season 1 I touched on a couple of trilogies, and then just last season I followed that up. And here I'm taking you back to why I wanted to do it. Because, well, people love stories. They like to see things like Lord of the Rings. Big story. You're one of the greats. And then you got The Hobbit, just one book, and Peter Jackson adapted that one into 3 films. It's like, well, and The Hobbit, as far as I know, is a prequel to Lord of the Rings. So we had the star of Lord of the Rings, blah blah blah, all the characters, and then we had The Hobbit. So we went back, more adventures, and then that goes into Lord of the Rings. It's like, whoa. So comic books, yeah, TV series, do that. The X-Files are back for 6 episodes, whether that's following on or a before. So, well, before you get bored of anything, I'm just gonna take a look into the future of what's to come. So, as always, I'll scare you later.